Hello, LinkedIn Live. We are live again this morning from 11 o'clock till 11:30. Very casual, at home, t-shirt to find, hat to find. And today we're going to be talking about how to manage money. So as we get set up, jump in. If you're getting comfortable, if you've got a little bit of time and you can tune in, or you're at home and you can join us for the next half an hour, take some time to set up, get comfortable. And if you want to talk about savings and money, this is the time to do it. So as we do, we're just going to try to see if we can load up the comments today. And hopefully, here we go, we will be able to see what's happening. So, I've got a stream up here, courtesy of another LinkedIn account, so I can see if you're tuning in and you are commenting below. So please, if you have any questions about budgeting, about savings, about how to manage money in any way, this isn't a how to invest and get rich quick. This is basic. Do you know how much money's coming in? And do you know how much money's coming out? So principle number one for today, as I let a few more people jump on the line and jump on this live video, is that if you want to save money, if you want more money left at the end of the month and not more month left at the end of the money, there's one very simple principle. It's what all this budgeting will ultimately come down to. And that principle is that you have a shoebox. Treat it nice and simple, like a little shoebox. And if you want to save money, more money needs to go into the shoebox, more money needs to go in, then goes out. If more comes in than goes out, you have a surplus of money. This is a good thing. If more money goes out of the shoebox than goes in, we have a massive, massive problem. Now, I never learned about any of this stuff in school necessarily. I didn't really learn about it in university in a course explicitly. In some project management stuff, we touched on it. But in the real world, it's not learning it out of a textbook. But when you load up your bank account, when you pay your rent, when you go to the groceries, is your card approved or is it denied? And this is what affects people in real life, in real time. So today I want to give you a few practical tips and also walk you through our budget calculator, which I shared last week on LinkedIn. Nearly 20,000 people saw the post, 100 people DM'd and shared it around. And the whole point of this budget calculator is to help people understand how to look at all of their expenses, everything that's coming in, and then everything that's going out. So let's step through it. If you have questions, comments, if you have tips as well, like I don't know everything, if you have a great idea, pop it in the comments so everybody can see. And today I've got the comments up so I can see them, respond to them, call you out, say hello, just if you're listening, say, hey Josh, I'm here, so I can say hello back. So this is how the budget calculator works. There are a whole bunch of different areas where you could spend money. So let's look at a couple of areas first. We'll step through it. Now today, if you're tuning into this, I want you to do this with me. Pull out a notepad, pull out a blank piece of paper, a blank piece of paper and pen, and write down some of these categories. Your home, food, your health, entertainment, travel, and I know we're on COVID-19 lockdown right now, but we'll talk about why travel's important. Think Uber Eats, Uber. Other general category, clothes, whatever. Make up a couple categories, but at least start listing down anything at all that costs you money. So let's look, I'll share a little bit about me. Like if I was trying to come up with this, what I call your life cost. How much does your life cost? You want that number because I'll give you the punchline. If you know how much your life costs, say it's $500 a week, and you know that you work for $25 an hour, then if you work for 20 hours a week, you can break even. You're not going into debt, you're not buying credit card, you're not using credit cards, you're not using Afterpay or any of that stuff that throws you into debt. If you misuse it, of course, you can use it responsibly. If you know your life number, if you know how much your life costs, and you can have a beautiful, abundant life. We're not saying live a life of poverty, but what does your life cost? And for you, you might have an amazing life and it costs $300 a week or $500 a week or $1,000 a week. But if you can work that much, you can pay it off. So today's about figuring out how much does your life cost week by week. And this will change. Now, with some of the COVID delays, some costs have gone down. But some have also gone up and our income's come down. So how do we balance that? So let's do that today. I just want a couple of shout outs of people online here. Manfred, awesome to see you. Manfred, love what you're doing up north, especially for international students. You're a gentleman. Morgan, tuning in from WA, very cool. So NT and WA, the first two on the call. Sandra, awesome, hello. Scott, great timing and timely topic. Thanks, Scott. If there's anything at Latrobe, especially on money management, time management, those budget calculators that I create, they're free, they're online. Feel free to send them out to students, the more the better. Kyle, again from WA, awesome, good morning to you too. Must be early in WA right now, so I appreciate you tuning in. So let's figure out what does your life cost. Let's work it through. I'll do it for me just as like rough numbers. So the easiest way to do this, in the budget calculator, I give you daily, weekly, monthly. But today I just want you to think of how much does it cost per week. and then we'll times that out. That'll give us our weekly number. You times it by 52, you get your annual cost. And guess what? If you earn more per year than you spend, your savings goes up. Shoebox principle. Not super complicated. Very rarely done. So let's do it for me. Home. So for me, my rent is an aspect of home. So that's about $200 a week. There's other costs affiliated with being at home. So there's things like internet, water bills, electricity bills, odd maintenance. All those bills for me, summer energy comes in and water comes in quarterly. So divide that by 12. So for me, it's like $240 a quarter divided by 12. That's about $20 a week. So let's call that $20 a week. Remember, we're doing weekly here, per week. Doing weekly. Keep on saying hello. Good morning to you too. Morgan, it's 8 a.m. in WA. Thanks for the information. You think I could do the math on it, right? So home, rent $200, bills maybe $20 a week. Say with internet, that comes in monthly, so that's probably another $20. So let's call that $40 a week, something like that. Any other costs affiliated with being at home? Probably not. That's about it. So let's look at food. How much do we spend on food a week? Now, food is an area we've chosen to find the things that we really care about that make us feel good and over-invest in them. So in terms of groceries, we spend quite a lot on groceries. I'm probably spending $150 a week, $200 on groceries maybe. Let's say $150. So we can buy slightly nicer things. And this is a really fun principle. If you can cut down expenses on things that don't really matter, you can invest more in things that make a really big difference. So for instance, coffee, I bought a nice coffee this morning, went out for a lovely walk, but that's really an investment for me in a relationship with my partner. Whereas when I'm traveling around, I buy 7-Eleven coffees. If you buy 5 coffees a week for $5, it's $25. If you buy 5 coffees a week for $1 from 7-Eleven, you save $20. 20 times 52 is $1,000, or just more than. And in Australia, the data is from ABC. 26% of Australian households have less than $1,000 in the bank. 7-Eleven will make you rich. 7-Eleven will, if you're in that position of buying coffees, and I know students are, I know university staff are, I know professionals are, if you can reduce that expense on just something like coffee, there's an amazing book here called The Latte Factor. Might want to check out. You can imagine what the latte factor is about, right? It's a factor of your wealth depending on how many lattes you buy. The metaphor is how many different things that you buy that you don't really need. So if you reduce those expenses down, boom, you've got $1,000 of cash. But you don't want to be the richest man in the graveyard. That's not the point. The point here is to invest in things that increase your quality of life. So I really want to say that again. The whole point of this is investing in things that increase your quality of life. So save $1,000 on coffee. Some of the places that we redistribute that is into food. The difference between feta cheese that's pretty average, $2 or $3 a chunk, like feta cheese, I don't know why, I just like it, and really nice feta cheese, it might be $6 or $7 or $8. So if I can save $20 a week in coffee, I go from having sort of average cheese on the salad that I have every day to some really nice cheese. So you can make those little tweaks and changes. So let's say food, $150. Now dining out. So say for once a week, maybe we go out, we have a date night, we spend $50 on the date night, something like that for food. That might be $50 as well. This will be different for everybody. So far, just on home and food, I'm up around $440 a week. Now, if we look at things like health, a gym pass, which is cancelled right now, but normally about, $15 a week. I think it's $14 for Zap Fitness. You spend anything else? I did a calculation on supplements. So if you're doing like protein powder and vitamins and things like that, for me, that comes out at about $15 a week too. Not super expensive. Entertainment. Now this can be a killer, especially if you've got, I was speaking to someone about this the other day, if you've got Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, YouTube Premium, whatever other accounts there are out there, Netflix, Spotify, you might have 6 or 7 reoccurring amounts, and you'll notice you don't get an email every month from someone saying, are you sure you want to pay us next month? That it's like ching, 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 ching. There's nothing wrong with that if that service delivers. Like we pay for Netflix, we pay for Spotify, I absolutely love it. But you start layering all these on top of each other and it can get really expensive. So entertainment per week, Spotify, Netflix put together, that's probably only about $10 a week for me. Now, if you look at travel during the week, for some people, if you're looking at this, when I was working full-time in the city in Melbourne, it was about $8 a day each way on the tram, times 5 is $40 a week. Now I travel a little bit more around universities, but I put that in a different work expense. This is just personal expenses today. But in terms of travel right now, it might be Ubers, DD. Are you going somewhere? Are you visiting a relative or friends and you don't have a car, but because public transport's closing, you have to catch an Uber? Figuring out roughly how much you spend per week on that can be really interesting because some people spend a lot of money on it. And again, it's totally not a judgment at all. It's just observable. Self-awareness is key before self-transformation. Ignorance is not bliss. We want to shine a light on this so we can say, are we happy with it? And if you spend $1,000 a month on Louis Vuitton stuff and you're stoked and you're happy and you're in a good place, like go for you, go you. But if you're spending money on things and you're like, oh, I don't know if this is really making me happy, freeing up some of these expense categories can open up pools of cash to help you get through tough times and invest in things that make you better, your life better, whatever that is, totally subjective, up to you. So in travel, you might say, I don't know, right now we're maybe spending $30 a week on a couple of Ubers to get back and forth to see a friend. I don't know what might be in the other category, but that's totally up to you. You might have some things in the other category. And in clothes, now something for me, like I spend nothing on clothes. So like this hat, my partner bought from an amazing brand called Lifestyle Over Luxury. If you are going to spend a little bit of cash on something, this beautiful brand by friend Jeff Duke in Canada, on the west coast of Canada, as a quick promo. And I have no vested interest in it. And for every item bought, something like that, a couple kilos of trash is cleaned up off the beach. Beautiful social enterprise. This is Steph's hat, I just borrowed it. This shirt's a Lululemon shirt that Steph bought me too. So maybe there's more money that she spends on gifts might be something that come up in this category. Shorts, clothes, things like it's stuff I've had for years. The other shirt I have I have a white one and a black one. I bought it in 2015. I still wear it. Lululemon's a good product. But I don't spend money on clothes. For me, that was a category that I was like, oh, if I reduce this, I free up a lot of cash. And I only learnt that from traveling for 2 years with my best mate, Cody. And when we went traveling, like we only had a backpack. If you wanted to buy one thing, you had to throw one thing out. So we started to ask the question, and this might be something worth writing down or thinking about, do you really need it? With every purchase, Steph, my partner's dad, who's amazing, Steve, always says, you don't need it. And with everything, the best money principle I've ever learned is you don't need it. Do you really need it? Is it really gonna make you happy? Is that new handbag or wallet or car or house, or is it really gonna make you happy? Now that's up to you. It might totally make you happy. You might need it in your spare bedroom to have the kid or have the puppy or do whatever you want. It's totally cool. But asking that question and really being honest with it. Henry David Thoreau, one of my favorite authors of all time, said, simplify, simplify, simplify. And then someone commented on that and said, just one simplify would have done, which I liked. But the whole idea of like, how simple can we make it? Like Einstein said, as simple as possible, but no simpler. We don't want to just say, oh, we got enough money. That's too simple. Or we don't have any money. Again, too simple. But you want to simplify it down so you've got these different chunks, you know how much it costs. So let's get closer to figuring out finally how much this life costs. Got a couple more comments coming in. Christine Hawk, that's my mum. Hi mum. If you're on there and you see Christine Hawk commenting on my posts, that's my mum. I love her very much. You're my number one inspiration in life, so love you very much. Thanks for tuning in. Sar Smith from RMIT, I've noticed students who learn how to cook often use being broke less often as an excuse to not go out. So let's read that again. I've noticed that students who learn how to cook use the excuse of I'm broke less often as an excuse not to go out. That's spot on, Sarah. So with food, I might spend $150 a week on food. One of the big tips for me was I would learn to cook. Well, Steph does a lot of the cooking, actually loves it. But when I was living by myself, traveling, I would cook at night, and I'd either cook something that I'd cook enough so I'd have lunch for tomorrow, or I'd cook something at the start of the week and batch it so I'd have the same thing for lunch every day. Now for some people that's their idea of hell. But if you're trying to live on a budget, you might be able to live off $50 or $100 worth of groceries for a week. You batch it out, you have the same lunches. On the weekend, maybe you order something nice, but you're saving that money and then you can reinvest it somewhere else. The key here is not a lack of resources. It's a lack of being resourceful. We need to figure out how to make what we have last. Coupled with empathy. Some people literally don't have a job. Found out this week, no job. I got a DM from a student from CSU, no job, help me, I'm screwed. So I'm not denying that some people aren't in this situation, but what are we going to do? We're going to sit back and say, oh, this doesn't work for everyone, so let's just throw it out? Or do we figure out that, hey, maybe you earn $60K a year and your life cost, which I'll calculate mine in a sec, is only $500 a week, so that's 30 grand a year, take off 10 for tax. Oh, I've got 2 or 3 grand left. Maybe I give that to charity, or somewhere like Oz Harvest, who's doing this big fundraiser right now to try to, as they always do, bring food into homes and schools of people that don't have it. So if we can figure this out for ourselves, the world doesn't need us to save them. I don't think you need me to save you. Who am I? Who the hell am I? But I think it might help if you see me save myself. And if I can figure this out for me, and I'm just like some bozo, if I can do it, you can do it too. So thanks, Sarah, that's spot on. Laura said hi, Josh's mum, which I love. So let's finish this out. I'll jump back in the comments. I love if you're here, if you're enjoying this, post a comment below. Tag someone below who has great money habits. Maybe tag a friend and go, hey, you should check this out. Maybe this is the answer to one of your problems. If you're into this, if you like this, please engage, please let me know. I'll be able to do more of these. So the last category for me, clothes. So say I spend nothing on clothes, but let's say in a year I spend $200 on clothes. So weekly, that's like $4 a week, but whatever. Let's call it $10 a week just to round up. Spend $10 a week on clothes, that's $500 a year. So there's at least a few things that refresh, undies if nothing else. So let's add this thing up and let's figure out what does my life cost. Now, some other things that come in, but unless you're out buying the iPhone 67 every time it comes out, like I got pens that last me forever, the notebook was a gift, I bought one laptop in the last 8 years, like these things really average out. But you could put in a category there of other like big expenses and then calculate it down to a weekly cost. So for me, let's add this up. So home, $240, food, $200, so that's $440, health, $30, so that's $470. I think that's right, $470. Entertainment, so I said $100. Entertainment says $10, so that's $480, plus $40 for travel and clothes, $520. So my life comes out just roughly at about $520 per week. You times that by 52, and if anyone's good with a calculator, I'll type it in. 52 times 520 comes out at, is anyone quicker than me in the comments? $27,000. That's about 27K. Now, when I actually did this a year or so ago and I went through all my credit card statements, oh, by the way, in food and entertainment, wherever you want to put it, you might even put it in health. Alcohol fits in here too. So a quick $50 or $100 at the bottle over the course of the week or at the pub, not obviously right now, but in the future, that starts to add up as well. If you spend an extra, like for me, I stopped drinking for a year once I went through my credit card statement, added up all the expenses. I'm like, oh, if you spend $100 on alcohol a week, plus drunk food and drunk Ubers and all that sort of stuff, that's $5,000 a year for a $100 a week habit. $10 a week is a $500 a year habit. $100 a week, if that's clothes, online shopping, booze, whatever, that's a $5,000 a year habit. And you can redistribute that. We'll talk about that in a sec. So for me, life cost is $27,000. Now, if I earn $27,000, like a little bit more with tax and whatever, that puts me in that first tax bracket, but there's online free tools you can use to calculate this. If I earn enough to 27 net after tax, I break even. I have zero savings, which is okay because 1 in 3 Aussies are living paycheck to paycheck. We're in a very similar situation. That's data from Eubank, where lots of us are actually just cruising by, getting by, making it work, which is okay. But there are only there are 3 ways that you will increase your savings. 1 is earn more. 2 is spend less. 3 is invest. Now, I don't really invest, and I know choosing not to invest is an investment decision, but for the simplicity of it, I'm like, call me simple. I like my Dolomite account that mum set up for me when I was in year 1 or kindergarten. I just like going to the bank, low risk, at least it's sitting there. Because it's there, it's reserved. Now, I'm not giving financial advice, I'm just sharing what I did, and for me, that works fine. If you want to invest and earn more money and become a bajillionaire, awesome, good for you. Superannuation, beautiful thing. So grateful that we have it, right? But the 2 simplest things that before you start looking at investing, because the investment becomes Bitcoin and Bitcoin goes to nothing real quick, is 1, how much am I earning? And 2, how much am I spending? And for me, if I know this number, if I know it's 27 grand or something like that, or when I did it, 33, 35, whatever it was, if I know it's that, anything above that goes into savings. So I'm going to jump in the comments here and see what you're all saying. If you've got tips, if you've got ideas, if you've got questions, please jump in. The more interactive, the better. If you're thinking it, if you're saying it, lots of other people are thinking it. So we've got in here a point from Ragvendra, tuning in from work, using my break productively. I like it. Ragvendra, you might even calculate how much you're earning in this half an hour while you're watching this LinkedIn Live. And one of the things I learned, if I ever went for a walk for coffee at work, I actually earned more on the walk for coffee than it costs for me to buy a coffee for me and whoever I was with. So I was like, oh, I'm earning money while I'm on this coffee. I'm going to buy one for the person I'm with. So if I ever take you out for coffee and I don't buy a coffee, you can slap me across the face and call me a liar. Laura, hi Josh's mum, everyone's okay. Mum, you're the most popular thing on this LinkedIn Live, which is fair, totally fair. Mum's pretty amazing. Athula saying a very timely topic, Josh. Want to do a webinar or online workshop for our startup founders on this topic. Let's chat later. Athula, I would love to. So let's get into a little bit deeper on this. My whole ethos on LinkedIn is give, and if you give, enough stuff's going to come back. I believe we think it's the opposite. I believe we think money is going to answer more happiness. I don't think it is. I think the research shows, Denny Goleman, who wrote Thinking Fast and Slow, did a study, I believe it was out of Stanford in 2014, after about 70K USD, 100K AUD, after about that point, the relationship between day-to-day happiness and income flatlines. So if you've hit 100 grand, which is a lot of money, if you've hit that amount of money, great. More money is not going to equal happiness for the average person. But the difference between absolute poverty and 10 grand a year, 20 grand a year, 40 grand a year, there is an increase. So we want to couple this idea of you want to be realistic, you don't want to be pessimistic, and you don't want to be naive to the data that's out there. So when it comes to LinkedIn, this is free. The reason I put it out to the world, if you've tuned in, I want you to get something out of this. I want this to help you in some way. For you to sit down with you, your partner, your parents, maybe they're going into retirement, maybe you've got a child who's going off to university, maybe you've got a best friend who's really struggling with cash. Sit down and figure out their life number. And my belief is if you just give it away, it's why our online tools are free. They don't cost anything. I didn't come up with this stuff. I read it from all the books that I've got here. These aren't original thoughts, but if you give it, it'll come back. Most of us want it to come to us first before we give. I think it's the opposite. It was a whole topic of my TED Talk. Leadership is service. It's giving. Kneeling down and washing the feet of the deaf, the dumb, and the blind. It's giving to others and then it coming to you. Not having it come to you first. So I thought if I can help out, that'd be amazing. If this is a workshop that you think would benefit founders, and founders, if anyone's out there an entrepreneur or a founder, one of the biggest things founders struggle with from the Startup Muster data, KPMG did a similar report, is financial security. Can you pay your bills? It's a huge risk. Something I really praise Steph for taking that risk on me is I left a stable job that I loved with TFA to go and start my own business, campus consultancy. And I had, in the first year, had spent, I don't know, it was like I spent $2,000 and earned $700. And I was like, I'm going to go into this full time. She's like, are you sure? But was so supportive and never doubted for a second. But it's a huge risk to do it. So founders out there running something like this for your team, how much does your life cost? In startups, we talk about runway, but how much life runway do you have? And right now with people losing their jobs all over the country, how much life runway they have is a real problem. Because this COVID thing, if this goes for a week, we might be okay. It's not going to go for a week though. If it goes for 3 weeks or 3 months, we start getting some really troubling times. There's not a lot of Aussies have enough life runway to calculate their life cost over the next 3 months. Because that's 12, 13, 14 weeks of this. So if your life costs $500 and you need to last for 14 weeks, that's $7,000. And the data, I think it's 40 or 50% of Australians, something like that, have less than $7,000. I've got it here somewhere. But it's pretty shocking. Cool, so I thought I would love to. Smith, bills, awesome. Bills lie up in your home expenses. So it doesn't matter what category you have, you just want to break them down. If you've got a weekly bill, put it into your weekly cost. If it's monthly, divide it by about 4.2, something like that, and it'll go into your weekly cost. That's really, really good. Laura, awesome that you mentioned charity, especially at this time. My biggest money tip is to buy less and local. Buy 1 candle from a small business instead of 4 from Kmart. I love that. So it frees up you to give to charity as well. The idea of I'll give to charity when I'm rich. I steal this from a guy named Scott Harrison who founded Charity Water. He's got a book called Thirst. It's beautiful. And his idea is why wait? Why not start giving to charity now? And on the 15th, I wish I could show you on our calendar, it's up on the wall. On the 15th, we have this big bubble around it. So we know on the 15th of the month, every month, that's the day where one person around the world gets clean drinking water because of a little donation. And as campus is growing, and hopefully it continues to grow, we just want to do more and more and more in that space. So if you can free up a little bit of money, if it's cutting your coffee expense or your Uber expense or your alcohol expense, that might be money you can give to charity and that makes you feel even better inside. Plus there's some tax deductible things that are benefits there too. So love that. And buying local. Really love that as well. Joshua Dale Santos, extremely useful during this time. Thanks, Josh, from Josh. Love it. I'm glad it helps, man. Glad it helps. Mum's loving the love. Smith says, go giver. I like that. Jen Cooper, that is my auntie. This has basically turned into a family affair. There's nothing wrong with that. She says, travel, you mentioned, saving right there. So this is the whole point of the shoebox principle. If you want money to pile up in the shoebox, there's only a couple ways to do it, as we said before. It's more money in, less money out. And if you are net positive, if more money goes into the shoebox than goes out of the shoebox, your savings go up. Now, one of the things we did last year when we shared this for the first time and we put out a guide, how to save $1,000 by Christmas, one guy jumped on board and actually did it, sent me a message, saved $3,300 in 6 months, started at zero. Why? Because we followed this process. So for the first month, $10 a week putting away. Second month, $20 a week putting away. Third month, $30 a week putting away. And as that built and built and built, he ended up figuring out, oh, now that I've built good money habits, I can save way more. So if you want to save for travel, for a new laptop, for an unexpected expense, if you have a car crash or something breaks, a little bit of savings, a rainy day is really, really helpful. So I love that from Jen. Sayed, who's an advisor at the Department of the Prime Minister's office, I think. Oh, golly gosh, what a situation for you to be in, my friend. Best of luck to you. We all need you out there. Hey Josh, excellent points. Can you please reference the books to add to our reading list? Thanks, mate. Totally appreciate your work. Thanks, I appreciate that. Yes, for sure. I'll pop in the comments a big list of some of the books I mentioned. But if you want to start, old school book, simple but great, The Richest Man in Babylon. Really, really, really good. I'd recommend this to anyone. This was a game changer for me. The modern retake on that, David Bash pretty much rewrote it, but in a modern novel format. The Latte Factor is a gem. And one more that you might like, which is, there are some points in here which I really like, some things I disagree with, which is always good. Do you really, really need it? From a professor named McSween. So that whole question, that jumped off the shelf because of the idea that Steph's dad shares. Do you really need it? Very, very helpful. Cool. We've got Raghavendra who's saying, it's an unpaid break. Could you also please send me your budget calculator, which you posted a few days? Thanks. I sure can. Would be very, very happy to do that. So I'll share it out. I need to find, maybe I can embed it in my LinkedIn page or Facebook or the website. It's a free link. I'll make it available. I'll just comment it on this thread too, so you've got it. I wonder if I can do that right now. I'll do it after. It'll be in this thread, and Raghavendra, just send me a message. I'll send it straight through to you. So that's totally cool. All right, so once we figured out how much does your life cost, like for me, if it's $520 a week, which is about $27K a year, there's a couple of things that might help practically. You're like, all right, Josh, this is all well and good, but I've only got so much money. How do I manage it over the next few weeks, months? And again, if you can get through this hard period, you're going to live for a very long time. You're going to live for years and years, decades and decades. So the point here is to set up good money habits now that'll benefit you in the long term. If you start a business, if you manage a budget at work, if you run a club, if you do a fundraiser, these good habits multiply. And if you do have questions, comments or anything, pop them in the comments below as we go. So good money habits, things that can really help. Try separate accounts. I know for some people the idea of labeling an account, which most banks will let you do, they'll let you change the name of it. And this is my travel account, or this is my 2021 fun account when the world's all functioning again, or this is my book account if you like buying books, or I don't know, maybe you like buying sneakers or baseball cards or something. This is the account for this, my fun account, whatever you want to call it, and just putting $5 a week, $10 a week, $10 a month in there. $10 a month at the end of the month is 120 bucks. And that might be the difference between buying just the average pair of shoes and a nice flashy pair of shoes. That makes you happy. Totally up to you. So try separate accounts. Something that's a good one there, if you know how much bills cost every month, you might have a billing account, and after your paycheck comes in, the first thing you do is pull out money for bills, pull out money for rent, pull out money for fun and travel. Don't just make it all negative. And put money in those accounts so you know those areas of your life are taken care of, and then the rest of the money's in there that you can use per week. A second thing, and this is a really big one right now, we're spending so much time on news accounts, and we're spending so much on news accounts, on news websites, and so much time on social media accounts. The whole business model of social media is to keep you on there, to put ads in front of you so you buy stuff and people pay for ads. That's it. It's free to join Facebook, it's free to join Instagram. Your attention is being sold for ad clicks. So if we're on these social medias looking at the news, which is also free, looking at the news, looking at social media, we're being bombarded with ads. And if you pull out your iPhone and look how much time you're spending on there, the more time you're on there, the more ads you're seeing, and the more ads you see, the more likely you are to click on something and buy. So if you want to reduce spending, especially working from home, leading from home, studying from home, stay off social media for at least big periods of the day. Don't go and be tempted like, ooh, I really do need a new A, B, or C. Stay off places where they're advertising to you a lot. Another one, unsubscribe from newsletters that are hitting your inbox. I don't care if businesses are, how should I phrase this? If businesses are trying to send you their specials right now, and they've got a great COVID special, that's amazing. If they're doing good in the world, awesome. But if this is the time to buy new winter clothing, it might be true, but you don't need 30 different brands telling you that. Now, they're all businesses. They're all out there trying to make a buck and get along and pay their staff and send their kids to school and put food on the table. I get it. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're in a situation where you're in debt or your money's falling thin or your life cost only gives you 4 weeks of runway, something that might have to go is the new sweater for the winter line. Unsubscribe from some of those email addresses. If you love them, if you love those brands, you've been dedicated for years, your best friend works there, save them, resubscribe in a couple of months once you're on track and you've got savings. Because going into debt to buy new things is a not sustainable habit. The fourth thing, the question I asked before, do you really need it? Whenever we're buying something, especially shopping online, do I really need this? Will this make my quality of life better? Am I buying it for me? Or am I buying it for something I put on Instagram or for a post or how I think this will make me look? Am I buying it because I think it'll truly make me, my relationships, my community, my mental health, my physical, spiritual, emotional health better? And the last thing is, if you are buying something right now, so this is directly going out to someone if you're struggling with money potentially and you don't have a lot left, even if you think you want something, leave it in the cart for 24 hours. Put it in that cart online, just let it sit there, come back to it a day later. If you really, really want it, do it then. That age-old wisdom of sleeping on it. Now, a few extra thoughts in the comments before I let you go. A great question from Shay here saying, helpful tips. I'm moving houses, it's not a great time. What do you reckon? Should I go for secondhand appliances or buy new stuff? Great question. If they're big investments, it might be worth buying something with a warranty that you can invest in for a long period of time. But I love the principle, and I'm sure I'm taking it from one of these books. In fact, I'm almost certain it's from the Latte Factor. The idea of buy secondhand, pay cash. Don't buy brand new if you can't afford it. If you just don't buy things you can't afford, it's a really helpful principle. So if you can afford something really nice, it's got a better warranty or is high quality, amazing. If you're in a situation where you're struggling, and I was a student and I traveled for 2 years on no dollars and just made it work, if you can't, secondhand, pay cash would be my advice. Laura said, what are your thoughts on investing in yourself? I had a theory that you should spend X% on yourself, 100%. One of my biggest expenses is books. I'm spending hundreds of dollars a month on books. So for me, that's really helpful. I mean, I'm trying to read I'm about a book a week, but I probably buy one or two because I'm upping it this year. So I'm probably $150, $200 a month on books, which is about $50 a week. I really believe in investing in yourself. If you grow, you've got more to give. And I think that's the whole point of life, is giving. So the more you invest in yourself, the better, if you can afford it. I have friends who have no money, who are in debt, who are bettering themselves, which is beautiful, but it's high risk. If you're in debt and you want to improve on yourself, go free. YouTube is free. Podcasts are free. Your local library is free. Having the book is a luxury, and it's something that I've sacrificed other things for to have. We don't have a TV. Our apartment is 6 meters by 5 meters. I'll say that again. Look around wherever you're sitting, walk 5 meters one way, 6 meters the other way. That's the size of our whole apartment. Even though I run my business and we're in a really good spot, we're keeping that low because that lets us invest in travel and holidays and books and all the things we love. So spending cash, buying secondhand. One of the books I was sharing in a LinkedIn Live, I think last week, Maximum Achievement, I bought it for $1, and that book was returned several thousand times X on that for me in just the tips and strategies. So go to the library if you're struggling, or use free podcasts, free YouTube, things that don't actually cost any money. There's so much amazing stuff out there for free. And the last comment here by Alan, what are your thoughts on putting money into a super account? Alan, I'd really recommend for something like that. I love super, I think it's amazing, but really speak to a financial advisor or get some help. So I really want to be conscious. I'm not saying go spend your money here, but I'm saying today, here's a strategy for you to figure out where do you spend your money. And if you've got some money left over, if you can put some into super, if your employer puts some into super, I mean, amazing. But I'd really go and have that conversation, compare the super firms, get some professional advice. Because in terms of your long-term future, I think it's really worth investing the time, energy, and money in figuring out, educating yourself, where should I spend that money long-term? Right now, I want to figure out how much you're spending on Uber Eats, how much you're spending on Uber, how much you're spending on baseball caps and new pairs of sneakers, how much are you spending on subscriptions every month, how much are you spending on takeaway, and maybe if we can cut those things down, $5, $10 each a month, that frees up $50 to $100 a month, which frees up a few grand a year, which is the difference between going home and seeing your parents for Christmas or not. It's the difference between being able to buy books to better yourself or not. It's the difference between being in a place where you're worried about money or having next month's rent sitting there waiting. So I really, really hope that some of the tips today have been helpful. This how much does your life cost? We've got the free budget tool, we'll share it online. If you like this stuff, if you've got suggestions for future topics, things we could talk about in the future, please let me know. I hope I'm not too unprofessional here wearing this hat, but Lifestyle Over Luxury, if you want to check out Jeff Duke's stuff. He's in Canada, I've shipped all around the world, absolutely amazing. But thanks for jumping in today. Sumit said, what about a car? Should we buy or loan a car? I don't have a car. Smith, if you've got cash and you want a car, that's completely up to you. A car is a very quick way to lose a lot of money if you're not smart about it though. So I really think twice. If you can get by without a car, it might be a wise decision. But I would avoid debt wherever possible. Avoid getting a car loan, avoid borrowing money you don't have. Buy secondhand, paid cash is my advice. And Nishay said that makes sense, thanks. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope this has been helpful. If you've got something out of this today, please share it with someone. You can hit the share button and send it out over LinkedIn. You can pass it on to somebody. If you're like some of our friends who said, hey, this is a handy workshop, we'd love to actually go in depth with this. We do this over about an hour and a half. If you ever want to run it with your teams, with your students, with your community, with your friends and family, if you just want to tee up a call and talk it through, we'd love to do that with you. But how much does your life cost is my first thing, and a couple of tips around figuring out how much money per week could you cut down if you were to minimize, separating your accounts, avoiding high ad spend websites, unsubscribing from unnecessary newsletters, resubscribe later if you absolutely love their products and services. We want businesses to keep functioning. Ask, do you really need it? And leave things in the cart for 24 hours. If you're not sure if you can afford it, the answer is you probably can't. And that's true for me for many things. I would love a Tesla. I think they're amazing. I just don't have 200 grand spare that I think the best use of that cash is to put into a car. So even though I might want it, I don't need it. And that difference between wants and needs, especially now when people are struggling a little bit, times are getting tighter, it's really helpful to make this decision now so you're not pinched in the butt a few months later. So thanks very much. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate all the comments. Have an amazing Friday and amazing weekend. Spend some money on something that makes you happy, obviously, but just think, is what I'm investing in, is that increasing my quality of life? And there might be some areas that you've invested in for a while that you go, you know what, maybe I don't need any more new clothes. Maybe 7 handbags and 12 pairs of sneakers is enough. After my 4th watch that I bought at university when I finally had some money coming in, after 4 watches, I was like, oh, I've only got 2 wrists and I only wear one of them. So I've made these mistakes, and I sort of wish someone sat me down and shook me when I was younger and said, come on, Josh, pull it into line. So I hope today has helped you. So with that, have an amazing weekend. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you again. If you've got suggestions for workshops or topics for LinkedIn Live in the future, please feel free to send me a message, and I'll do my best to make it happen. See if we can kick one off next week as well. Thanks all. Have a great weekend.